coffee cocktail. This mug has 1 ounce of Kahlua and half an ounce of tequila. And now I'm going to totally guess at what is 6 ounces of fresh brewed coffee.
Oh, that sounds good.
I'm looking forward to this. And honestly, anything with Kahlua, I'm going to love. Okay, we're not done yet. We're going to shake up the other whipped cream. And we're going to put whipped cream in here. And you're probably going to see me with whipped cream mustache because I might have overdone it. And next we're going to add a sprinkle of cinnamon. That was too much. And we're going to garnish it with the cinnamon stick.
Oh,
so
that looks lovely.
Yeah, this is the Mexican coffee. That is very nice for a winter night. It's bet. Nice any night.
I wish I had one of those. That looks delicious.
I found interesting Kirkus's comment that this is a fresh take on horror. What would be a sort of a common take on horror? What defines horror? As I've read it, I found it's a broader field than I used to realize.
I think horror is having kind of a renaissance right now. So there's a lot of really interesting horror, and a lot of it is kind of new and fresh, which is delightful to be part of that. I think people look for the haunted house as the, you know, the sort of the novel. And I also think a lot of people have written like slashers that are basically homages to the old slasher movies of the 80s and 90s, you know, that they probably grew up with. And while I kind of enjoy that, I feel like it's not as interesting to me. I think I'm more interested in the horror of the mind and how we deal with each other socially, the interface between strange events and how people interact.
When I started reading horror, it was sort of after the indie publishing got big. Has that sort of changed it? Because I've experienced more paranormal, more monsters, more demons.
Yeah, there's so many great indie publishers out there, and a lot of them, you know, they're as good as anything that's going on at the majors. There's a bookstore in San Antonio called Ghoulish, and it's just the tiniest little bookstore, but it's great. And he publishes, he's a independent publisher, and his horror books are amazing. Everything that I've read by him that has come out of Ghoulish books has been great. So it is interesting because I think things go in waves, and you know there was definitely a vampire wave, obviously, and that went back, and now vampires are back, and you know, and so I think horror is going through a nice wave.
How much of your story was inspired by the Kola Superdeep Borehole?
You know, a lot of it. I've always been fascinated by that. I kind of my husband is kind of an engineering wonk, so we love engineering stories and engineering disasters, and the Kola Superdeep Borehole drill site was kind of fascinating to me, you know, and the legend, and this was very much an urban legend of the 90s, early 2000s, was that they drilled down so far that they drilled to hell, and then they heard the voices from hell, and then everything went haywire, and the drill site was abandoned as people fled. But what really happened is they got to where the earth turned plastic much faster than they assumed they would be, because it heated up that much quicker. Like what we assumed was the core of the earth, the mold core kind of extends out farther than they originally thought. And but what happened to the borehole is that they stopped, because this was a Soviet era drill site. They stopped when they reached the world record. They stopped the drill so everybody could come celebrate. And as physics would tell you, when they started it back up 2 weeks later, it snapped.
The drill itself just snapped?
The drill itself, because you know, think about the angular momentum of a drill that's like miles and miles long. Once you start it, you know, you probably should never stop it, because restarting it would be just so much torque.